There he is, Louis Riddick, making bold predictions. Bill Belichick versus everybody. I'm with it. Stephen A., do you agree with Louis here that Bill's going to go scorched earth?
No, I think that he'll have that kind of attitude. He's Bill Belichick and he's great, but it don't mean a damn thing if he don't have a quarterback. Louis Riddick can sit up there and talk about Bill Belichick all he wants to with the 8 championships and 6 as a head coach. You understand? But last time I checked, Bill Belichick can't go out on the field, kneel behind center, drop back, and throw the damn football from the quarterback position. He has to hope somebody can do it for him. Now, Bill Belichick being the genius that he is, and no one would dare question that, his coaching resume speaks for itself, and I would never try to impugn that because he's phenomenal. But the bottom line is that you can put dudes in the right place to win all the time. They've got to execute. Who's going to execute? That's the question mark. I'm quite sure Bill Belichick sees things before they do. Doesn't matter. Can't stop them from seeing what they see. Can't stop them from doing what they do. You can do your best, but ultimately it doesn't work. Now, obviously, when we look at the Patriots last year, you had 8 dudes that called out for the season because of COVID-19. They didn't want to participate. And I think that had a devastating impact, which is why I think that Bill Belichick did a damn good job last year. And he's not to be, he's not to be insulted in any way. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is this. I don't want to hear about Bill Belichick and Scorcher. You mad. You mad. Well, hell, when have you looked happy? I don't recall Bill Belichick looking happy much. Okay, unless it's on Championship Sunday after winning the Super Bowl. That day, but all of those days preceding that day, he never looked happy any damn way. So what Louis Riddick is saying doesn't mean much to anybody else. Bill Belichick always looks that way. He always looks like he's ready to go scorched earth. He always looks motivated and unhappy and a bit truculent and acerbic and all of those other words that you want to throw out. It don't make a damn bit of difference. At the end of the day, that man needs a quarterback. He needs a quarterback, and the GM that's Bill Belichick needs to get whatever quarterback he chooses weapons to actually throw the football to. That's what he needs. All of that scorched earth stuff don't mean nothing. Don't mean a thing.
Well, I agree about the quarterback because the league has favored quarterbacks in the passing game to the point where it's a little less about coaching and a little more about talent than it used to be, I think, in the NFL, especially on offense. But I'm with Louis Riddick on this one. Louis, I'm with you. Bill Belichick, first of all, look what he was working with last year. 8 guys off the team to start the season who opted out because of COVID, including Hightower and Chung. Gilmore missed a bunch of games. I mean, these are the best defensive players they got. And they didn't have anything on offense. Name one offensive player that the Patriots had that another team would want to start on their team. Name one guy. You have any tight ends or wideouts that people are like, yeah, I want that guy? Or running backs? Not a single guy. So they had nothing on offense. And now they have a quarterback rehabbing off a catastrophic injury who just missed a year. And Stephen A., you religiously say, not a thrower of the football really ever at an elite level, right? With that dude, who then himself got COVID. So now you got a new quarterback in a totally new system, the exact opposite of the guy you just had, rehabbing from an injury, missed a year, got to learn a new system, and you can't practice. You're missing your whole defense, and you can't practice. And then that dude gets COVID. So now you got to not only miss the quarterback, and it lingers, right, the effects of COVID on his play, but you got to shut down the facilities. You can't even walk through stuff. It's impossible. Now, Louis, in spite of all this, the reason I'm with you, they won 7 games. They beat the Ravens. They beat Arizona. They beat the Raiders. They beat Miami. They came a play away from beating Buffalo and a play away from beating Seattle. So, yes, do I think, given a full preseason, given another year to get it together without opt-outs, Bill Belichick is going to come back and have a great year? Yes, I do.
Yeah, look, I think early on this past season, he understood. He saw what the writing on the wall was going to be. And whereas he was never coaching to just get through this season, I think he also understood that 2021 is when he was going to make his return, where he was going to have a bunch of cap space. He knew that he had to address quarterback, but he knew then he could kind of really restock the coverage for this football team. And I can tell you this, late in the season, talking to him during Monday night production meetings, there was a palpable sense of just frustration and disgust at how he wasn't able to get his team to play the way he was accustomed to getting it playing. And I've heard that. I've heard that sound in his voice before. I heard it when I was sitting in in the amphitheater in Cleveland, in Berea, in the football facility when we weren't playing up to our potential. And I know how he comes out firing and with a renewed sense of urgency when he's feeling that way. Now, Stephen A., you're right. It isn't going to matter unless he goes ahead and addresses the quarterback position. And this is where I think you're going to see a change. And this isn't him saying it. This is me just predicting this or kind of forecasting this. I think you're going to see a change with which he approaches this offseason with a greater sense of urgency instead of sitting back and letting everything come to him, which is what he has had the liberty of doing, given the fact that he is who he is. They've had the success that they've had. And people basically said, well, if you want to win championships, just go to New England. I don't think anybody necessarily looks at it that way anymore, especially with number 12 not being there anymore. I think you're going to see a different approach as far as I'm going to be much more aggressive now. And number one, I know I got to take care of this quarterback position. And I know I've got to get us some wideouts on the perimeter. And this is the perfect year to do it. Number one in free agency and number two in the draft. And I see you, Stephen A. I see you out of the corner of my eye. I see you sitting there like this. All I'm saying is this. His approach is going to be different. Hold on, let me finish this. His approach is going to be different. It's going to be different. It's going to be much more aggressive. And Max, as you point out, look, with a roster that was just depleted last year, he still had people on the ropes over and over again until late in the season where he just couldn't do it anymore. He couldn't do it with smoke and mirrors anymore. It's going to be a big year for him. Just mark my words. It's going to be a big year.
Fine. It's going to be a good year. Let me talk to you about something, Mr. Chippendales.
No, I didn't say a good year. I said a big year.
Let me talk to you about something. I got you. A big year. A big year. Let me talk to you about something, Mr. Chippendales, all right?
Yeah.
You know, smooth daddy, got the collar openers. You macking. I got it. And you've been chilling. Clearly, you were chilling a little bit too much. Now, I thought you did a fantastic job on Monday Night Football, but clearly you were chilling a little bit too much when it came to Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick sat back and let things come to him. Bill Belichick sat back and said, let me just let things come to me. Stop it.
You missed the context with which I said that, Stephen A. You missed the context with which I just said that. In the offseason, Bill plays the patient game. He plays the long game better than anybody. He always has. But this year, his approach is going to have to be different.
So
you know what?
Not with wide receivers.
That's
not true.
Okay, well, I'm saying, listen, I'm saying overall he plays the long game better than everyone because of the fact that he doesn't like to delve into free agency the first 24, 48 hours. He understands that that the time with which you make these transactions is critical. First 24 to 48 hours, players have all the leverage. That's where the worst deals are made. I think Bill's going to be a player early on. I think it's going to be one of these situations where he's going to have to be aggressive and recruit and get people to come to New England and not have people just saying, you know what? If we want to win, what I'm saying is I think the approach is going to be much different.
Are you willing to admit that Bill Belichick, the GM, not the coach, not the great coach, Bill Belichick, the GM, has been subpar? Bill Belichick, the GM, has dropped the ball. Are you willing to admit that? And maybe it wasn't because he laid back. Maybe because it was arrogance, because he was like, yeah, damn it, I'm Bill Belichick. This ain't about Tom Brady. I know what the hell I'm doing. Is that possible?
You know what? I think that's entirely possible. I think it's entirely possible that, you know what? Hey, look, this is a guy who's won everything there is to win in football. There's no question. I think that at some point in times, I'm sure he's a human being. I'm sure he feels as though, look, I've seen it all. I've had the answers to it all. And maybe he did drop it down a gear or two to where it wasn't up to his normal standards. That's where I'm saying this. This year, the way it played out, the frustration I heard in his voice, his quarterback that he drafted, his program developed, they won all those championships together, leaves, goes to a different organization. Everyone's saying, and look, it's pretty obvious right there in front of our face. This guy's having fun. This guy's living, he's on boats. He's living in Derek Jeter's house. Bruce Arians is saying, I'm letting him coach. Tom's doing his own thing. And Bill's sitting there going, okay. So now everybody's going, well, maybe it wasn't Bill. Maybe we should go down here to Tampa and